Hi folks, welcome to another beer review, and the hair gets worse and worse, and so do the videos. So today we're taking a long overdue visit to one of my all-time favourite breweries, and this is the Kernel out of the London, and this is the brown ale Cascade, which was kind of given to me by Adam, aka Mersey Beers, because I think this is it's either the one with American Cascade that he's already had, or it's the one with the British Cascade that he's already had, and he wanted to try the other Cascade. Anyway, 5.6% ABV, Kernel with just artwork and labelling and presentation that just stands the test of time. Just simple glass bottle with the heavy duty paper. I just love it. I've gushed about the Kernel a hell of a lot. I love the fact that they don't really sort of play into the hype. They let the quality of the beer do the talking. Not to say that they don't do, let's just say it, do hazy IPAs and stuff all the time. Well, they don't really, but they change it up. Rotational. And just some classic examples of craft beer. Very pioneering brewery, and yeah, long live the Kernel. And if you ever want to treat yourself and you're in London, you're probably going to go to the Bermondsey Beer Mile anyway, but I would highly recommend popping into the Kernel. The one and only time I've been was a wonderful experience. I think I've said this story before, but it was whilst I was in London for the London Craft Beer Festival. It was the morning after. I had lost my wallet, so I'd lost all my cards, I'd lost my hotel key, and I didn't realise until I was on my way home on the train that my Apple Pay was still working. So I was having to spend that last day, or last couple of days, living off the generosity of Harry, aka Blue Nose Beer Reviews, and Craig, aka Kent Beer Reviews. And I think I was an insufferable mess of a person. So they put up with a hell of a lot, and they made sure that my last couple of days in London went off without any further missteps. But it was lovely tap room, and yeah, I've got a hell of a lot of time for the Kernel, and they're a brewery that I just don't drink enough of, even though not all their sort of like beers work, because it's like, we'll do this beer but we'll put like this Cascade in it, and then they'll brew it again in a month, whatever's time, with a different hop, maybe a different yeast strain, blah 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 blah. They just keep changing it up, brewing what they want to do, and I think that goes a hell of a long way. Anyway, so thank you to both Craig and Harry, and beer in the glass then. And yeah, that's a really dark brown. In this lighting, almost veers off into jet black territory, with one finger's worth of a nice sort of like mocha coffee foam sort of head, looking a bit like a coffee actually. But yeah, I think I've had a couple of variants of their brown ale. Their darker beers are just absolutely fantastic, and yeah, so very grateful for Adam to kindly give me this. And I think I've said it in their last sort of like 10 videos, because I've mentioned him in the last 10 videos, but I've mentioned him a hell of a lot. And I shall be having a little jaunt into Newcastle with him and Harry, and I think Bullman is also going to make an appearance, and that should be damn good as well. So here's to drinking with good people. So let's give it a sniff. Oh man, you can really smell that Cascade. Just to get a sniff of it, it's got an almost black IPA element, but instead of like a dark smoky-ish malt profile, you're getting a sweet sort of like lightly sweetened cake sort of aroma. A little bit of licorice in there as well. Oh man, but that Cascade is just emanating from the glass, and what a wonderful, wonderful hop that is. One of those classic sea hops. So I'm not sure if this is more along the lines of like a British brown ale or an American brown ale. I would imagine, just off face value, from the intensity of the hoppiness, you're getting that American brown ale element to it. But regardless, it smells just absolutely terrific. So let's give it a taste. Cheers, folks. Just like that nose, I am getting ever so subtle hints of like a black IPA. That sort of like dark, savoury licorice element. There's a little bit of a, like, well, there's quite a bit of a grapefruit bitterness throughout. But obviously with it being a brown ale, there's a tiny bit of sweetness with that malty backbone as well. For its ABV, lovely creamy mouthfeel. It's really rich and decadent. Very bold, but soft and smooth at the same time. Getting like a slight steeped cherry flavour coming through. There's loads of like subtle flavours that work well, and there's almost a coffee-like element. And I think I've said this with beers like this, like black IPAs, red ales, brown ales. When it comes to hoppy beers, there's this sort of like slow resurgence of West Coast beers coming out, but they never hit the mark of what I personally remember from West Coast IPAs. But when I drink stuff like this, I very much get a West Coast element. These flavours that I've not tasted on a regular basis for years, because that's been years really, hasn't it, since all the big American style West Coast IPAs came about. I know we're talking about IPAs with brown ales, but keep with me. But if you're looking for those characteristics that you used to really enjoy having when you were drinking like the big, bold West Coast IPAs, I personally think you've got a much better chance of getting those flavours, characteristics and nuances from a beer like this, and styles like this, and hoppier, darker styles almost, than you are with a brewery who comes along and goes, oh, we've brewed a West Coast IPA, which just sort of like falls short. Although well brewed, a lot of them just taste like pretty good, just hoppy IPAs. But no, this is absolutely wonderful. Really, really is. you're pretty much guaranteed a treat with the Kernel. I think the only time I've never really enjoyed a Kernel beer is maybe if it's a hop that I'm not a big fan of, or it might be like one of their, because even though they do the style well, but like, you know, there's more like sour farmhousey sort of styles, they're never my thing. I might have had maybe a couple of like generic beers where you don't really get much of what they've put into it, but they're still well brewed. But I can safely say I've never had a Kernel beer where I've, like, you take a sip, you look at the glass with a really dissatisfied look and go, this is shit. I've never had that with the Kernel. And yeah, I'm just really glad to see that they're still brewing beers in bottles, using the labels which aren't always on straight. I love the fact that when bars and pubs get Kernel on keg, or I don't know how much cask they do, instead of like having like specially made bar tap handles, a lot of the time it's just like one of the labels cut out into a crude circle, and I like that. I like that sort of like industrious sort of element to it, and it's sort of like, in a weird way, it's the Barbican centre of London craft beer. But there's really nothing like quintessentially brutalist about that art direction. But I hope you can get what I mean. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine, because it probably doesn't make any sense. And I'm just a person who's talking utter shite. And went Irish there for no reason, but I did it on purpose for no reason. And now I immediately kind of want to just stop recording and never upload this video. But we will still upload the video. And yeah, another absolute cracker from the Kernel. Thank you so much to Mersey Beers for just giving me this beer, because he's had it before. He's a very generous man, and I probably owe him like about 50 mini kegs worth of beer now. He just wants me to sleep with him, that's all it is. But I play hard to get, so it is what it is. Maybe Newcastle will be an enlightening experience, but I don't really like the direction of this. I'm doing that thing that Ian Hislop does, where he talks and he like closes his eyes but raises his eyebrows and shakes his head. Anyway, that took a weird turn. Go check out the Kernel. I reviewed quite a few beers on the channel. One of my favourite breweries. And yeah, if you've tried this or any other iteration of their brown ales, or even different types of brown ales that they've done, let me know your thoughts, opinions down below. And yeah, thank you all for watching. You all take care, stay safe, and I shall hopefully see you all later. Well, at least got to talk about brutalism in a beer review. Ah, no. Well, mind you, it's just the great unwashed who watches these videos, isn't it? They're not like cultural behemoths like I am. What? Yeah, I know. I'm sat in my parents' house in the middle of Skelmersdale. I lived in Germany for a little. No, it doesn't matter anyway. What? Oh shit! It's still recording.